I'm sorry. I just wish someone would have told me this. When I was in the depths of my own mental health struggles, depression, anxiety, exercise was the last thing I wanted to do. The thought of getting off the couch or mustering enough energy, much less working up a sweat, felt completely impossible on days when simply existing took all of my energy. Maybe you're in that same place right now, feeling that exercise is just another should in your life that you're failing at, that it's completely impossible for you. But here's what I wish someone had told me then. Movement isn't about physical changes. It's one of the most powerful, accessible tools we have for dramatically improving our mental health. And you don't need to run marathons or spend hours in the gym to see the benefits. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the science-backed ways that exercise can transform your mental well-being, particularly if you're dealing with depression and anxiety. You'll discover why even small amounts of movements can make a significant difference, how to get started when motivation is at rock bottom, and practical strategies to make physical activity a sustainable part of your mental health toolkit. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how exercise affects your brain chemistry, the specific types of movement that research shows are most effective for mental health, and a step-by-step approach to building an exercise habit that sticks, even on your hardest days. Most importantly, you'll learn how to approach exercise not as another obligation, but as a form of self-care that can genuinely improve your life and how you feel. So if you've been struggling with mental health and looking for a natural, accessible way to complement your current treatment or approach, or if you want to boost your psychological well-being, even at a baseline state, let's explore how movement can transform your mind. Here's the science behind exercise and mental health. Let's start by understanding exactly what happens in your brain and body when you exercise, and why it has such an amazing impact on depression and anxiety, and how it completely changed my life too. The most immediate effect of exercise is the release of endorphins. You've probably heard about this. It's your body's natural mood elevators. These chemicals interact with receptors in your brain that reduce the perception of pain and trigger positive feelings similar to morphine, but without the dependency or addiction. This is often what's called a runner's high, but you don't have to run a marathon to experience it. Even a brisk 10-minute walk can trigger this response. Also, breath work can do the same thing when done in the right way. Comment if you have questions about that. But endorphins are just the beginning. Regular physical activity also increases the production of key neurotransmitters that are often depleted in people with depression and anxiety. These include serotonin, which helps regulate mood, sleep, and appetite, dopamine, which affects motivation and pleasure, and neuroepinephrine, which helps moderate your stress response. Exercise also stimulates the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, sometimes called the miracle grow for the brain. BDNF supports the growth of new neurons and helps repair and protect brain cells. Research shows that people with depression often have lower levels of BDNF, and exercise is one of the most effective ways to boost it. Beyond these neurochemical changes, exercise reduces levels of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. When these hormones are chronically elevated, as they often are in anxiety disorders, they can damage nearly every system in your body, from your cardiovascular system to your immune response. By lowering these hormones, exercise helps break the cycle of stress and anxiety that's actually happening in your physiology. There's also a psychological component. When you're depressed or anxious, your mind often gets stuck in rumination, replaying the same negative thoughts over and over. Exercise provides what psychologists call behavioral activation. It breaks the cycle of rumination by forcing your attention to shift to the physical sensations of movement and away from the stress and fear and pain living inside your body and brain all the time. This mental interruption can provide crucial relief from the spiral of negative thinking that we all sometimes get stuck in. What's particularly remarkable about exercise as a treatment for depression and anxiety is how it compares to conventional approaches. Multiple studies have found that regular exercise can be as effective or more effective as medication for mild to moderate depression. One landmark study published in the Archives of Internal Medicine found that people who exercise regularly were 30% less likely to experience future depression cycles. For anxiety, research published in the Journal of Psychiatric Research showed that exercise reduced anxiety sensitivity, which is the fear of anxiety-related sensations, which is a key risk factor for panic attacks and other anxiety disorders. The researchers found that even a single bout of exercise could help reduce anxiety sensitivity and panic-like symptoms. What makes these findings even more significant is that unlike many medications, exercise has no negative side effects when approached appropriately. In fact, it comes with a host of additional benefits: improved sleep, increased energy, stronger immunity, better cardiovascular health, enhanced cognitive function, all of which further support mental well-being. Now, I want to be clear. Exercise shouldn't be a catch-all replacement for professional mental health treatment, like therapy or medication, if you need it. But it is an incredibly powerful complement to these approaches, and in some cases, it can be effective on its own. The most encouraging news from the research is that you don't need intense workouts to experience these benefits. Studies consistently show that moderate activity, like walking, gardening, even gentle yoga, can be as effective for mental health as high-intensity exercise. In fact, for people with anxiety, gentler forms of movement are often more beneficial, as intense exercise like high-intensity interval training can sometimes mimic the physical symptoms of anxiety, like elevated heart rate and heavy breathing, potentially triggering more anxiety in the short term. But over the long term, you can work yourself into these to experience the greater benefits of reduced anxiety and depression. Let's look at what this means in practical terms. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommends 150 of moderate activity per week for physical health benefits. But when it comes to mental health, research suggests that a small amount can make a difference. Even just 10 to 15 minutes of physical activity per day can have an immediate effect on mood. And studies show that 3 30-minute sessions per week can significantly reduce symptoms of depression over time. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I know this exact feeling. How am I supposed to start when I'm feeling depressed or anxious? How do I break out of that cycle when I'm barely keeping myself alive? Now that we understand why exercise is so powerful and important for mental health, let's address what I think of as the most challenging part: how to get started when depression or anxiety makes it feel completely impossible. The most important principle to understand is when it comes to exercise and mental health, something is always better than nothing. On days when depression has you firmly in its grip, even when getting out of bed can feel like climbing a mountain, research shows that even 5 minutes of movement can begin to shift your neurochemistry and provide relief. This is why I recommend starting with what I call the 5-minute promise. When you're feeling at your lowest, commit to just 5 minutes of gentle movement. This can be a walk around the block, or stretching in your living room, or even dancing to a single song. It's been incredibly effective. After 5 minutes, you have complete permission to stop. But sometimes once you've started, continuing for another 5 minutes feels doable. And even if you do stop after 5 minutes, you've still done something beneficial for your mental health. The second key is to lower the barriers to entry. When you're feeling depressed or anxious, complexity is the enemy of action. The more decisions you have to make, what exercise to do, where to do it, what to wear, how long to go, the less likely you are to get started. This is why it's crucial to simplify the process as much as possible. Try to pick things that require minimal preparations or equipment. Walking is perfect because all you need is a pair of shoes and your legs. Home-based exercises like yoga or body weight can eliminate the need to travel anywhere, like getting in the car or getting dressed up. Even something as simple as turning on music and dancing, whatever feels good to you, it all counts. Try to create visual cues that make exercise the path of least resistance. Lay out your exercise clothes the night before. I always do this. Keep your walking shoes by the door so you don't have to look for them. With ADHD, I always lose my shoes. Roll out your yoga mat the night before in a visible spot. These environmental props can especially be helpful when motivation is low. The third principle is to connect exercise to something you already enjoy or something that's already part of your routine. This concept is known as habit stacking. This leverages existing habits to build new ones. For example, if you already have a morning coffee ritual, try adding a short walk immediately afterward. If you enjoy a certain TV show or certain movies, make a rule that you'll stretch or do gentle movements during commercials or between episodes. If you love being outdoors, focus on activities like gardening or hiking that help you connect with nature while providing physical activity. This is a double whammy. because it's been shown that spending just 10 to 15 minutes in nature can decrease stress and elevate mood. The fourth principle is to remove the pressure of performance or achievement. When exercise becomes another way to judge or criticize yourself, it stops being beneficial for mental health. Instead, approach movement with curiosity and kindness. Just do it for the sake of doing it. Rather than focusing on how many calories you're burning or how you look after or the scale, pay attention to how movement makes you feel. Notice the sensation of your feet connecting with the ground when you walk, the rhythm of your breath during yoga, or the pleasure of stretching tight muscles. This mindful approach to exercise not only enhances the health benefits, but also makes the experience more rewarding. The fifth principle is to recognize and plan for the specific challenges that depression and anxiety create. Depression often comes with fatigue and lack of motivation, while anxiety can involve fear of physical sensations or public exercise settings. If fatigue is your primary obstacle, schedule movement for a time of day when your energy is typically the highest. For many people with depression, this is actually in the morning, before the weight of the day sets in. Short, frequent movement breaks throughout the day can also be more manageable than a single longer session, and they can sometimes be more beneficial because it gives you a chance to lift your mood multiple times throughout the day. If anxiety makes you uncomfortable exercising in public or at gyms, I completely understand. Home-based routines or outdoor activities in quieter settings might be better options. If you're anxious about physical sensations like elevated heart rate, start with gentler forms of movement like walking or yoga. Gradually build your comfort with more intense sensations over time. Don't start going for runs or join an exercise class with high-intensity interval. Finally, and maybe the most important, celebrate every single instance of movement, no matter how small. Depression and anxiety thrive on negative self-talk and feelings of failure and words like I hate myself and I can never do this. Countering this requires deliberate attention to your success, focusing on celebrating what you've done right, no matter how small those wins feel. Did you do 3 or 5 minutes of stretching before bed? Celebrate that choice. Over time, these small victories accumulate, not just in physical benefits, but in rebuilding your sense of agency and accomplishment. Part 3 is building a sustainable mental health exercise practice. Now that we've addressed through how to get started, let's talk about how to build a sustainable practice that continues to support your mental health over the long term. This first step is to find activities that you genuinely enjoy, or at least don't mind, or don't completely hate. I know this sounds obvious, but it's actually critical for sustainability. Many people approach exercise with a no pain, no gain mentality, choosing activities they hate because they believe these will yield results faster. But when you're exercising primarily for your mental health, enjoyment is actually way more important than intensity. Take time to experiment with the different forms of movement. You might discover that while running feels like punishment, dancing brings you joy. Competitive sports might feel stressful, but hiking in nature feels restorative. You might prefer the structure of following along with a video, or you might prefer the freedom of intuitive movement to music. Remember that what works for you might change over time or even day to day. On some days, you might have the energy and desire for more vigorous activity. On other days, gentle stretching might be all you can manage. Having a menu of options that suit different energy needs, levels, and moods can increase your chance of doing something rather than nothing. The second step is to start incredibly small and build gradually as you go. One of the biggest mistakes people make when starting an exercise routine, and I'm guilty of this as well, is doing too much too soon. This not only increases the risk of physical injury, but can also lead to mental burnout and a sense of failure that reinforces depression. A more effective approach is to begin with an amount that feels almost laughably easy, like just 5 minutes of walking 3 times a week. Once this becomes a consistent habit, add another 5 minutes or another day. This gradual progression builds confidence, capacity, and starts to provide some of those mental and physical benefits of exercise. The third step is to integrate accountability without judgment. Having some form of external accountability can significantly increase your consistency, but it's important that this accountability feels supportive rather than like punishment. This might mean finding an exercise buddy who understands your mental health goals and will gently encourage you without adding pressure. It might mean working with a trainer or a coach who specializes in exercise for mental health. Or it might be as simple as using an app to track your activity, focusing on consistency rather than performance. The fourth step is to have a strategy for the inevitable difficult days. No matter how well designed your routine, there will still be days when depression or anxiety flares up. When life gets overwhelming or when motivation simply disappears, having a specific plan for these days prevents a temporary setback from becoming a complete derail. This might be your minimum viable movement plan, or MVM, the absolute smallest amount of activity that you can commit to, even on your worst days. And this could be a 5-minute walk, or 3 minutes of gentle stretching, or just deliberately standing up, or taking the stairs, or parking a little bit further away to walk into a store. These specific activities matter less than maintaining the continuity of your practice. The fifth step is to deliberately connect your movement practice with your mental health goals. Research shows that we're more likely to maintain behaviors when we clearly see the benefits. After each bout of movement, take a moment to check in with yourself. Notice any shifts in your mood, energy, or thought patterns. Do I feel better? Do I feel worse? Over time, this mindful attention will strengthen the association between your walk and your improved mental state, between your yoga and how you feel after. This will increase your motivation and the amount of dopamine you experience when thinking about exercise. Consider keeping a simple mood journal where you rate your mental state before and after movement. This tangible record of exercise can be invaluable on days when your motivation is low, serving as a reminder of why you're making this effort. Finally, approach your exercise practice with self-compassion rather than self-criticism. Depression and anxiety often involve harsh judgment and unrealistic expectations. These same patterns can infiltrate your approach to exercise if you're not careful. When you miss a day, or a week, or a month, treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a good friend. Recognize that lapses are a normal part of the process, not a moral failure, and not evidence of your inability to succeed. This ability to start again without self-judgment and self-hatred is one of the most important skills in building any sustainable practice. It is okay, especially when managing mental health challenges. Remember that movement is not another task on your to-do list or another standard to measure yourself against. It's a tool for feeling better, a form of self-care rather than self-improvement. And when approached with this mindset, exercise becomes not another source of stress, but a refuge from it. I want you to imagine two possible paths from now. In one, you continue to view exercise as something you should do, but probably won't. You say things like, I can't get started, adding it to the list of ways you feel you're inadequate or falling short. In the other, you begin to see movement as medicine, a powerful tool that's always available to you and will help you feel a little bit better, even on your hardest days. The research is clear. Regular physical activity is one of the most effective interventions that we have for depression and anxiety. It changes your brain chemistry, interrupts negative thought patterns, reduces stress hormones, and builds resilience over time. And unlike many treatments, it's freely available. It has no negative side effects and comes with amazing additional health benefits, both internal and external. But perhaps the most important thing is establishing a movement pattern that puts you back in the driver's seat of your own well-being, taking control of your life. Depression and anxiety make you feel powerless and weak, like you're at the mercy of your mind and emotions and you just can't break out. Each time you choose to move your body, even for just 5 minutes, you're proving to yourself that you have control over your life. You are not helpless, and you have powerful tools at your disposal. This doesn't mean exercise will cure depression or eliminate anxiety on its own. For many people, professional treatment remains essential, but movement can be a powerful complementary approach that enhances the treatments and provides immediate relief when you need it most. I know because I've been there and it is hard. I want to invite you to take a single step forward today, just a 5-minute walk or a gentle stretching session, or just put on music and move in whatever way feels good to you. Not as a grand commitment to a rigorous new exercise program, but as an act of kindness towards yourself, an acknowledgement that you are worth it, you deserve better, and that you have the power to take small steps toward that direction. I'm sorry. I just wish someone would have told me this. You deserve better in your life, and you have the power to make changes in your own life that can be incredibly powerful. I want you to remember that in the context of mental health, consistency matters more than intensity. Enjoyment matters more than optimization, and something is always better than nothing. Your movement practice doesn't have to be perfect to be incredibly helpful in your journey. If you found this video valuable at all, please like and subscribe for more content on evidence-based strategies for your mental well-being and for increasing activity and the way you think about your life. Remember, your mental health journey is a journey, not a destination. Each step forward, no matter how small, is progress worth celebrating. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think.